Now we're getting to the ones that I've played before, long, long ago. This is the Black Prince. It's the Battle of Navarrete, which is a situation where the English are getting themselves involved in a Spanish, well, both the English and French are getting themselves somewhat involved, but the English more officially involved in a Spanish dynastic battle. The English are supporting the probably more rightful king, and in the case of the French, really it's a free company of French under de Guesclin, but he's the Marshal of France. That's I mean, yeah, they didn't send the prince, the crown prince, but and the English actually said quite a bit here, not just the prince, but also the Duke of Lancaster. Should be John of Gaunt, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know. Chandros, who's the Capitale de Bush. A number of important people. And I mean, you can look, you got like Percy here, you got important British nobles. You don't have a lot of Spaniards supporting them. What you have for the other side, though, is really more the usurper, is a bunch of crappy Spanish infantry and also some Spanish nobles who, at one point or another, have switched sides back and forth. It's important to distinguish these. These are the French or free company. De Guesclin has special rules supporting them. Now, this is fairly late medieval. The knights in plate armor, you'll see, have really crappy movement, and they probably shouldn't have, great movement in the King Arthur either if they're in plate, right? I mean, if you're doing this fantasy King Arthur. But this is getting to that really, really heavy plate where, the men could not get up easily once they're knocked down, for example, and sometimes needed help getting onto the horses. Well, that's really the tournament plate, but the actual battle plate was pretty hefty too. And for that reason, if you flip these guys over, they have the same damn movement allowance. They're not going to be able to get more than one charge off. And they're never allowed in this scenario to switch formation. You secretly choose whether you want to mount it or dismount it. Well, historically, they dismounted because they just were not fast enough to have the kind of impact they'd like. They would have lances. That's a one-use charge. But then they'd have a really tough time maneuvering about. And you can't charge up or downhill. So the English are almost assured to be on foot because they've chosen a largely uphill position. Now, the Spanish rebels under Enrique, Henry the Bastard here, have made a foolish mistake, perhaps, although they felt they had to fight this battle. They've crossed an impassable river at the only bridge and put themselves with their backs to the river. But their army was disintegrating if they didn't engage. Anyway, let's take a look at what we're looking at here. English longbowmen have a fire and melee side to them. And for that matter, the crossbowmen do too. They have the Spaniards and French are all crossbowmen, and the English are all longbow. The English can freely switch from melee to fire and back and forth as they like. Now, we'll take a look at the charts, but what we found in general is that it's usually better to be in bow formation. So the longbow has pretty good shots. Remember, it gets first fire there. Now, M infantry at the same range is generally worse, which means you're better off still being in bow, even in close quarters, because you get to fire before you get to melee. For the crossbowmen, I'm not as sure. They're good at long range, but their ratings are pretty low, so they might be a little better off fighting in melee formation. Take a look and see if they keep their male. Yeah, they keep their male in this one, so they're a little better. Okay. The English longbows are dependent on their plate armor in order to fire. They have to be within 2 hexes. This is the same as what we saw at Bannockburn, of something with the same designation. So they've got to keep their wings kind of together. The crossbowmen, anything special for them? No. Well, English crossbow units, or English crossbow, in melee mode may not fire. Oh, no, sorry. English crossbow units which are not within 2 hexes of capital plate armor may not fire. I can't really tell a distinction, but apparently these are crossbow, I guess. And that might be one reason to change formation, because you had a penalty to fire in Bannockburn. Now you just can't do it. However, I believe it's just a 2 hex. Yeah, it's just a 2 hex thing, so you don't have to worry if you're where your placement is. Du Guesclin has special rules. If he's rolling for a French morale and Du Guesclin's stacked with it, he gets a bonus of 1 point. Pedro the Cruel may not rally any English units except the one unit that's designated Pedro. Just back here. The river is impassable. You'll drown if you walk into it. With the exception of the bridge, which is treated as clear terrain, the English can't cross the bridge. The Spanish A morale units cannot enter the bridge unless they're routing, I believe. I don't know about the French ones, I assume the same there. And the victory points for this, the English have to win by 20. And there's no distinguishment across it. A morale units for the English are worth 25. The 2 royalty are worth 100 each. Other leaders only 10, and any other combat units worth 10. We have a fair number of A morale units. Our knights are. The French A morale units are worth 25. Any other A morale units are only worth 10, though. I don't know how many there are. The royal troops are. Other units are worth significantly less. Now remember, any other combat unit that's not A morale for the English is worth 10. Henry the Bastard's worth 100. Du Guesclin's only worth 20. Any other leader's worth 1. Now, Castilian units which are routed or south of the road hex, on or south, are considered eliminated. Yeah, okay, so if they've crossed the river routing, they will count as destroyed, but they have a chance to make it back on the field. Our spaces is north-northwest, the 0. Yeah, so this hex row is the English route line, and actually everywhere down here is acceptable, and over here for the Castilians. So, another shot at one of these. See how this one works. This is more of an infantry battle. Oh, I forgot to talk about one of the special units. So we have these Vedettes and Genitours. Now, Genitours are cavalry. They have both melee and fire capability, and Vedettes are infantry with melee and fire capability. As far as I know, any cav can charge. Seems a little weird. Nope, only plate or mail cav, and these guys are in leather. Okay, great. There are a couple of cav in the game, though, still. Enrique has a couple there, and they're male equipped. There's another one here, another one here. So there's like 4 cav in the game. They're not armed with lances, but they do get to do the charges, and they have a little bit more mobility, about the equivalent that the English plate did. All right, well, we're not starting tonight, but I wanted to give you the quick fresher and then dark and early in the morning. We'll see if we can get a little bit of play in. Okay, Castile moves first, and we pushed him forward. A little bit of a preference towards going up the hill. Try to get an outflank here. It looks like the wings of the English force look fairly weak to me. I'd like to put most of my pressure on them, and I may end up shifting into kind of an echelon formation if I have that kind of discipline, but I'm very medieval in thought, and I'll probably just keep marching forward at an oblique as I push move up to bow range, get a couple successful hits. This is opening their bowmen up, of course, to attacks by the infantry. Longbow against plate infantry is only a 236, so that's not so great. Oh, crossbows. Oh, maybe crossbows do not want to engage at range with the longbows, simply, or the slingers or whatever, simply because there is a penalty to them when they're in crossbow fire mode, which is a little strange. It's like they've gotten rid of the pavus or whatever that they used to defend themselves, and now maybe because they're more in fixed location without that defensive piece being valuable, because the crossbows have a stand, whatever, they're giving them a physical penalty. I'm not sure. Crossbows have a longer range in terms of hexes than the other ones, and compared to the longbows and the slings, the range seems about the same. I don't know. We could look up what the scenario ranges were. They've got everything defined here, so it's 50 yards per hex. And a Bannockburn, which was 70 yards per hex. So I don't know. The longbows have gotten less capable of firing, it seems, as opposed to the crossbows becoming actually stronger, which is kind of weird. Turn before any combat, and you can see I swept those skirmishers behind the enemy through gaps that I had left. Didn't quite realize what the effect is, but remember that it's so easy to slip through in this game. A couple of charges, some of the cav. Not all of it, one of them is still not engaged. Crossbows, hey, they like being at longer range, or they're happy enough being at longer range. They suck at any range, basically. And I'm even bringing the crappy infantry up just to give me some weight to support the charge. I feel like if I don't have them behind, ready to act, I could well end up losing good units very quickly, very easily. This is before any of the combat. We've got missile fire, and that's going to be a complicated mess. Results of that combat are kind of not very good for the Castilians. Obviously, their skirmishers, where they were able to be affected, were hit pretty hard, but we also hit 2 of the Spanish cav. Those plate units, man, they're tough. All right. On to the English side. And the English are working on clearing out those pesky skirmishers. Victory point wise, those things aren't worth a hell of a lot, but they're able to kind of disrupt the line and cause some problems. You can see the Captal has moved forward to hit one. It's safe because the Spanish line over there was kind of weak, because of the oblique attack, had left things open, so it gave me an option to go that way instead of, trying to charge after things with infantry, which, hitting the crappy morale Spaniard units isn't worth all that much. The only reason it's worth something, though, is what I talked about in Bannockburn, overwhelming the enemy's capability to, bring their troops back. But if it's just crap, it can be stuff that leads the enemy on. It's not worth a lot of victory points. And then maybe you can get rear attacks with decent units, because these slingers who were able to get rear attacks all over the place, they can't hit. As slingers, they're hitting on 2s against the plate and 2s and 3s in melee form. They get to fight both ways. Anyway, you can see the Spanish are definitely taking some significant hits. The English kind of holding their own here. There's much better troops. And that's a lot of what the game comes down to. I mean, yeah, the Scots had better troops and better leadership last time, but they also had to overcome a victory point total that was as high as this one. Here, I feel like the English may have a better advantage. It's hard to tell. They have a lot more of the dismounted knights that are of quality. There's only the 2 French dismounted knights. The other units just don't match up to those. And then they have the longbow, which in general is better than the crossbowmen, and certainly better than the slingers. And sure, there's a bunch of Spanish crap infantry, but I don't expect that's going to do much at all. Units that are easily routed behind people is kind of dangerous. One of these died due to clogging in the backfield, in their own backfield, but 2 of the units were killed because they couldn't find a way out safely. Basically, a unit stuck here behind an unrouted unit has to go around, and boom, it's dead, even with just a one retreat result. That's probably okay because those are pretty crappy units, although they're better than the big infantry. And quite frankly, the Castilians just don't have enough leadership to handle everything that's routing anyway. In fact, this guy's probably gone. He's just too far away. He's routing at a high speed. And there are more important units like the Cav that really ought to be rallied. And still using their slinger troops of various types to try to slip around behind the enemy and get some kind of real coup, a really lucky hit. They've basically got to roll a 2 or a 2 or a 3. 2 or 3 against the plate. No, 2 against the plate infantry there. And then here, it's a 2 through 4. And then a bad morale check. That could be devastating. If one of these units goes, the line collapses over here. Or over here, we maybe get to, push through. But there's heavier amounts of bowmen over here. Here, the bowmen are kind of scarce right now. So there's a possibility to, really kind of weaken that English line with a lucky shot. On the other hand, we're spending these guys on it. But, I can't afford to rally them all anyway. They're pretty crappy troops. And this seems like the best use for them. It's either that or keep them out of the battle, which the infantry largely is doing them. They're just so bad, and I saw how much they got hurt in Bannockburn, the crappy infantry. I'm trying to wait until I do get an opportunity to use them through an outflank or something like that, where they're able to cause some serious disruption to the line, because throwing them in head-to-head, it's just pointless. My initial statement of 2 through 3 was actually correct. I it up on the chart wrong. I'm always confused when I look at this, but the plate cav is first and the plate infantry, instead of most of the games just have one type. So that was a 2. But then over here when I'm looking at light infantry hitting, no, 2 through 4, hitting the plate infantry is easier. I don't think it ended up mattering. I hope not, because then I misspoke. But anyway, here's the results of that, and we go over to the English side of the turn. I get some more coffee. Check to make sure I don't have to start work yet. The third turn, and a real unit, one of the Spanish cav, as well as some of those infantry slingers, which I think are worth a little bit more with their sea morale. Went down, and let's see, anyway, managed to pick him off with, the archers are doing a damn good job here. It's basically what it comes down to. The cav disappeared from under him. It's very hard to get in a situation where you have a possibility to capture a leader. So, you know, it can happen sort of in the midst of, I don't know, a charge or something like that, or rallying, for example, where Lancaster was rallying here. He could have been lost. If he had been hit here, he would get a disobeyed marker. If the unit couldn't retreat, then he's left, and it had 4 hits on it, so a hit would have just disintegrated it. Then these guys could move forward and capture him, and that would be a really big hit. It's one reason why you don't want to rally people right in the front line, especially with your most valuable leaders, right? But anyway, and we've got Spaniards just, you know, essentially gone. It's just a matter of waiting for them to actually fall off the map, however that is. All right, that's it for now. The Castilians are trying to be careful here. So this guy charged. The infantry, the heavy plate armored infantry, is fighting. And I'm using those skirmishers, but that's it. The crossbowmen are positioning themselves where they're effective. I mean, they're not bad as mailed infantry, I guess. They have some pretty good hits, especially against the bowmen. But the problem is, they likely get shot before they make it up there because they're not the heavy plate. So it feels like I should be trading shots in this sort of way. But I'm not gaining anything. And you can see we got losses. Most importantly, this guy, he's going to get captured now. He went to rescue somebody too close to the line, and he's gone. Continue to clear out some of those pesky skirmishers. There's still one left. And he succeeded. Also beginning to hit some of the infantry back here. And of course we took Donatello out. Which is worth a pile of points, right? He's only worth 1. Great. Okay. But his effect on the battle is quite large because he's one of the rallying points, and I only have 3 Castilian rallying points and a fair amount of units that are trying to run away, so that becomes something of a problem. And I forgot to swing back. Ooh. So the plate versus plate there. It's a hit, but to no effect. The Gascoigne's plate versus plate is a hit to no effect, and yeah, we're exactly where we thought we were. Castile's attacks just feel these half-hearted, but I've got so much crap I can't really push forward hard. So, you know, using the crossbowmen to plunk away at distance, where I can, trying to swing infantry to get behind the lines, well, got negated because of the archers. Really, really tough situation for the Castilians. Maybe they'd be best on defense, you know, because the English have to have to get the advantage in victory points in this, but the Castilian army is kind of designed and set up to take an offensive position here. Plus, I'm pushing things closer to this side, right? You know, if I am falling back constantly, I'm going to have worse route problems, although I don't know how much worse it can get. The Spanish infantry that came over to play over here has all been wiped out. It was garbage anyway. This guy's dead. He just doesn't know it yet. And this guy, though, did something kind of neat. Whacked Pedro's unit, which is not great morale. So, are they plate? I think they're just male. Yeah. And that's going to put us over to the beginning of turn 6. It looks really hopeless for the Castilians. And, you know, I mean, if I was playing... at this point, if I was playing with any seriousness, I would be trying to withdraw from the field. But the game doesn't allow for that. The armies are stuck fighting it out. Obviously, I could concede or something, but there's no, yeah, I can try to save my army or something along those lines. And it kind of makes sense. Enrique, at least, isn't going to be able to survive a defeat. So his only goal is really to keep going. That's one of the things... if I was playing like a GBOH or something that I take a little bit more seriously, I might well try to do an extrication here, just to kind of see how it works, or in musket and pike especially, just to watch it happen, and it's usually very, very painful. Here, though, there aren't even... It's just win or lose. There aren't even victory levels. So there's no real goal. There's nothing I can do. I mean, if I start falling back, I'm not going to be able to cross here in good order, and there's just nothing to incentivize it. And honestly, trying to withdraw is really, really hard in these types of games, where facing is important. For those larger units, they're not going to be able to get away because they're going to turn and start running. Well, there's things that can chase them that are faster. Well, not faster, but as fast. Yeah, there's no English cav, so. And if there was, it would be the plate cav that doesn't move any faster than the infantry, so. Yeah. To both sides of turn 6 that way. And you can see, I mean, I'm just rolling up the flank now. Over here, yeah, the English look weaker, but it's not like the Castilians can really do much. I'm going to have a possible charge from here. I've got my bow fire if need be, but pretty much whatever I throw in there just gets ground up, and it's just a question of how slowly I want to throw it in and get it turned into mush, you know? There just doesn't seem to be a good answer for the Castilians in this one. Which is okay. I mean, you know, it's a quadra game. If one's terribly unbalanced, that's not horrible. But if too many of them were, then it would be kind of painful. And you can always tweak things, I guess, but this is... I don't even know how the points are going to be, because 20 points, I mean, those things aren't worth a lot. There's the one cav, that's a C morale, that's worth 3. Everything else is worth 1 or 2. Now, I've got that 20-point swing right now, but that's a big hurdle to jump over. The Castilian turn, they barely have any kind of offensive capability at all. I've started fleeing with my infantry. It's just getting in the way. It's blocking things up, causing deaths of decent units and degradation of decent units. It is better off unmoved. Just leave it in the back somewhere. It's the Triari. Almost no offensive capability at all. I have like 1 crossbowman left. Maybe there's another one here. Yeah, there's one there. So 2 crossbowmen left. And I have, this can go away because he's not on top of anything. I have I had a cav charge, so I got one crossbow shot and a cav charge, and that's it. And everything else is just sort of deteriorating. Oh, I forgot about English attack over here. I'll roll those up. I didn't bother with them at all, but that's basically a dead unit. I'm just taking target practice on it. And the English longbow is particularly ineffective this turn. Just really didn't budge a lot of the units I expected to hit. Yeah, but I did kill one of those big plate armored infantry that the French have, so at least there's that. And, I mean, the battle's over. It's just a matter of watching it end at this point, but I always kind of get a kick out of watching a route complete. Finish turn 8, and that's putting us into the fatigue zone, where morale checks are less likely to be made. English not able to budge a couple of big units, but they wiped out another cav, and, you know, just kind of overrunning everything as it comes. I mean, you know, I've got this completely surrounded, but I couldn't get a hit for it. My infantry is just like, we're useless, we're gone, bye. We don't care. Conceivably, the English could try to chase it down, but it's probably going to get too far away at this point. Those knights, they can't run after it. That's the problem. Even if they had horses, they couldn't. So, guess Pedro can. He's chasing some stuff with his crappy unit. But otherwise, the bows, they can't run after it either and try to take pot shots. I mean, they could here, but they have to be within 2 of their unit, and I don't know, he probably shouldn't be out there. That's just asking to be killed. There was not a unit that died there. There are no English units that have died. And the English bow pretty much wipe out everything else that's effective at this point. There's one crossbowman there. Nobody's dead yet, but the leaders. But de Guesclin's here. He's worth a pile, I think. And Henry the Bastard's worth a whole lot, 100 points. Killing him would be huge. As we push into the final turn, Enrique is far enough away that his 4 movement points will be able to get him out of range of any of the English that can capture him. There might be a chance to plink off one of these, but I see no reason to continue at this point. The English have wiped out everything of value except for him, some crappy infantry, and 1 crossbowman. And that crappy infantry is routing off the board. They will actually be disappearing before the game ends. So all that's going to be left is these 3 infantry, the Pretender, and this crossbowman at the end of it. There's some possibility that maybe I could I can't destroy, but could shoot and hit one of those lights, maybe. But it's not, there's no significant value to playing it out at this point. This is a tough one for the Spaniards, there's no question, or for the Castilians, there's no question about that. I don't see a tactic that would work, you know. I mean, yeah, you could try to push harder, maybe turn those crossbowmen into infantry melee, but they're still going to be in the all others. They're still going to get the crap shot out of them. They're not going to get a chance to even shoot then. Mounting the knights, they're not fast enough to charge, basically. They'll get 1 charge in. That's not going to win the game. Not with just two plate armored knights. Was sending the skirmishers around a terrible idea? No, it actually got them out of the way. They're not worth many points. And that gave me some potential to wipe out the English, to disrupt the English line. And it looked like it was doing some good at one point, but this is the end. Sadly, this is probably the one that I had the highest expectations for. Now, I didn't remember the Unbalance the first time I played it. Maybe it didn't bother me. It was kind of oh wow, somebody's actually like applying real wargaming type concepts to, medievals. This was a big deal at this point. Yeah, there was prey stags or whatever, but there really wasn't a lot of games out there. And honestly, there wasn't a lot of ancients either, to tell you the truth. So this was very, very exciting to me, getting to play this in Tamerlane. I kind of remember being disappointed with at least one of them, and I could see being most disappointed with the one that I wanted to be the best. The Black Prince, wow, that's cool, man, and I was expecting, some kind of 100 Years' War battle that is a little bit more balanced and a little bit more interesting than this turned out. Because de Guesclin, certainly wasn't fighting the pitched battles that the other earlier French commanders were willing to lose to the prince regularly. But there had to be engagements, and I could certainly see an engagement where the Black Prince was involved that wasn't a cut and dried, obvious victory. This one seemed, and I don't have one offhand, it's just that I could see one in my head and expected it to be that, expected it to be a 100 Years' War battle, an interesting one because, they made a game on it. And instead it's sort of an iffy battle. So far, Bannockburn is the best of these, but I think I enjoyed one of them, and I only played two, so maybe Tamerlane's pretty cool too. All right, let's send this up.